All right. So first question, Shane, is whenever I practice for any tournaments back in the days, and it didn't matter if I did good or not, I never felt fully satisfied with my practice. I kind of felt like okay, like I could like improve here and there, and I'm like I never felt like 100% ready. And I think it's kind of the case for everyone. How do you feel like before this tournament? Because we are 4 days out or so. How do you feel with your current shape?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think, you know, nobody's ever going to feel fully satisfied going into
Mhm,
the tournament, but I think going into this one, I feel pretty good.
mhm,
Um, I just kind of, am up in the air with the same as last year, and I
mhm,
kind of look at it like when we went to IEM Katowice. I remember going into that tournament that people weren't sure that tanks would be good on land back then, but they
mhm.
ended up being good. Like Scale and Sorlag were really good picks, and we obviously saw how Raisy back then played with Clutch on
Yeah,
certain maps
yeah.
and was dominating. And then also, but I remember online that it was tough to play with Lights, but then at that
Mhm,
LAN as well, like Lights were good. So all sorts of champs were viable. But then last year, just with the way that it interacted on that patch,
mhm,
the Lights and Visor were very, very strong.
mhm.
Like because their dodging seemed so much faster than usual,
Yeah.
so it made them very overpowered, and tanks were just like this huge barn that just you just
Mhm,
never missed. So
mhm.
I think the biggest thing is just trying to be ready to be able to play anything, and
All right.
because we won't really know what the meta is going to be like until like the first
Until you
prep
get there.
day. And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, but overall, I feel good with the practice this last 2 weeks. I think I found a few like little things in my game that like
Mhm.
sometimes I'm making mistakes over that I don't need to make. It's like it's
Okay.
unforced errors, and so I've been trying to work them out. And yeah, so I'm
Mhm.
feeling in pretty good shape.
Yeah, what I would suggest, what I will do, like I know my mistakes from previous year. Like if I would be going this time, I will
Hmm.
definitely spend much more time practicing right before the tournament because that was my biggest mistake. I came there and I assumed that the game will work same as at my home, and then I went to the game and the sounds are different, like the feel game is different, and I didn't like put enough practice, especially now that players are not used to 500 hertz monitor. By the way, what do you think about that? Do you think it will take them a lot of time to adjust for those who don't use them at home?
I don't think so. I think it'll just make everything feel a bit smoother. So
Mhm.
like, because every now and then we have input issues with
Mhm.
Quake Champions, and it's still there on 500 hertz. It's just less.
All
So I
right.
think it'll just be a nice improvement for everybody. It shouldn't really take too long. And to be honest, if somebody really feels that uncomfortable, they
Mhm.
can match it to the hertz that they have at home. If they want to do
True.
that, they can.
True.
But I still think like the best option will be to play it like 500 hertz with
Mhm.
fixed refresh. So
Okay, another question is when I'm thinking about the players, like when I think about Raisy, he has extremely good base, and from some point of view, I think he really has great aim. You don't see it like people don't tend to consider him as a best aimer, but I think his aim is extremely steady, extremely good. Like I think in general now he improved his DM6 game, so he also has like a good map pool. He also has very wide champion pool. He plays
mhm.
tanks as lights, like different kind of variety of champions. What do you think if he managed to get to the grand final again, for example? What do you think he would have to change to be able to win that one?
um, hmm. I think like now his champ pool is better.
Hmm.
I definitely agree. I just think that he needs to draft a little bit better.
Hmm.
I think like last year, if you look at the grand finals, for example, between him and Kilson, I think what he should have done is like way ahead of time has been like, okay, I just need to accept that on this map it's going to be more of a 50-50 matchup, and he should have
Hmm.
just banned like Keel ahead of time, so
Yeah.
that there's like no chance at that point because at on that patch he was the worst champ in the game, and
Hmm.
so to potentially be able to get stuck with that pick, or he could have maybe picked something else on a different map so that then the matchup for the final one is different. Like, I just think, yeah, if he just picks better, then he has a better shot. So, because I think, like, looking at the top four of us between Wenger,
Hmm.
Raisy, Kilson, and myself, I think we all play all the champs very well.
Yeah.
I think the big advantages of Raisy and Wenger are that they play clutch very, very well, and I think they
Hmm.
play clutch better than Kilson and I. But then there's a
Hmm.
few other champs where Kilson and I play a bit better than them, like
Hmm.
probably Scalebearer. and I'd say Athena. We probably play better than Raisy, for example. But then I think, Venger is so good on all the light champions.
Yeah.
Like I think, Venger has done a really good job of making himself super solid this year, very
Hmm.
well rounded. So it's going to be really tough to beat any of them. So
Hmm.
it's going to be exciting.
I'm really can't wait to see Wenger because for me he seems to be in the best shape of his life, even better than when he won that QuakeCon in 2021, which
Mm,
was offline. The only thing I realized was his last match. I don't remember. I think it was against Sirius. Somehow it seems, sometimes it seems like he's when he has advantage, he doesn't really push for frags. So he's like backed off a little bit. So maybe
hmm
that can backfire on him. But in general, I think he's super good. And I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think about Strongsage and his champion pool? Do you think he will suffer on land more, like with this champion pool? Because obviously he plays all other champs, like medium slides, but he somehow
hmm
prefers to pick tanks anyway. What do you
Yeah,
think
I
about
think
that?
it's one of those, if we get to the LAN and tanks are really strong, that Strong Sage has I think, a better chance to kind of shine through.
Hmm.
Whereas if it's not and they get punished and, he ends up making some sketchy
Hmm.
choices in the draft, like he could pay for it. But,
Hmm.
like you said, he's obviously been trying to get good at all the champions.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think he's definitely one of the dark horses to look out for. Um, but yeah, who knows? Um, he doesn't have as much LAN experience as the rest
Yeah,
of us, and so still, dealing with nerves comes into play. And I think the biggest thing that, looking back at what 04 always taught me is you need to look at, like, the best that you played in practice leading up to the LAN is not what you will be playing at the LAN. Like, you'll be
true.
playing like at 80% of that level because you're dealing with nerves. You don't know, like,
Hmm.
how you've been dealing with, like, being able to eat, and you're anxious throughout the day, things like that. Like, you may have a
Hmm.
map where you play like this, but consistently you will not play at your very best every time. So it's trying to just bring out as close to the best as you can each time. And I
Exactly.
think it's something really difficult to kind of harness and grasp, and everybody needs to go through those growing pains. So it'll be interesting to see how well he
Mhm.
adapts at this tournament.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what gets to head of many players. Like they are getting frustrated that they cannot pull off their best game on LAN and it's all collapse at some point for them. How last days of preparation, like those 4 days, gonna look like? It's just general stuff, like general practice regime for you, like 2 to 4 hours or whatever. Like how it's gonna look like for now.
Yeah, I think for me today, I'll take today a little bit lighter. I'll play like,
Hmm.
2 to 4 hours, and just try to review more. Like, review, just try to
Hmm.
rest my body. Just think about, just kind of get a last, like, general sense of direction on how I want to approach this LAN, the
Hmm.
things that I want to look for in the first match or two that I play, and then
Hmm.
adapt from there. Because tomorrow, I think, yeah, tomorrow's Tuesday.
Hmm.
Everybody will be able to check into the hotel tomorrow. People will, Europeans will be arriving either late today, early tomorrow.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think, if I recall correctly, like, the PCs won't be set up and ready tomorrow to play.
Hmm.
Anyway, so tomorrow will just be, maybe I'll get a little practice in the morning with, like, a
Hmm.
player or two that's already here at the LAN
Hmm.
center that's in town.
Hmm.
Other than that, it'll just be a day of just, getting settled in,
Hmm.
making sure that I eat really well,
Yeah.
start like a really good routine, and then making sure that even though I don't play on Wednesday or Thursday,
Hmm.
waking up at the right times, going to bed at the right times, just starting to get into that tournament mode and thinking about nothing else and just focusing on the path ahead.
That's good. Anyway, last question because I don't want to hold you anymore. So let's say there is another QPL season next year. Like,
Mhm.
what would you like to see different? Like anything, like from the format of QPL, maybe like changing to tournament system, maybe getting like more tournaments or finals like it was previously, or maybe completely switching it, maybe opening it for more people, or what marketing maybe changes or something with the game. Like, what would you like to see different?
That's interesting question. Yeah, I have a few ideas. I just think I'd like to see at minimum 3 tournaments a year again. I think that was a
Same.
really nice, like, format of having like 2 minor tournaments and then a big one. You
Mhm.
know, um, Even if the minor tournaments have to be online, I still think it brings some nice hype. Every now and then have like a little bit of rest and then kick it off again and start up. I
Mhm.
really liked that format. Other than that, I just think, like, two things, like some newer maps, like
Mhm.
new maps that actually like rotate old maps out of the pool, but then also like I would like to see some old maps that haven't been in the game to come back. So for example, like something like Toxicity or Arrowwalk or Furious Heights from Quake Live. You know, maybe even something like I think could be good in this game would be like Monsoon from Quake 4. I think
Yeah.
would possibly play really well. So something like that where it's like the layout is already there, and you
Mhm.
probably don't have to change too much from how Quake Champions plays, so it shouldn't be that difficult to kind of, streamline into the game. And I just think, we've been playing some of these maps for a long, long time, and as much as I
Mhm.
love Blood Covenant, like I would like to have maps that are good enough to replace it and
Mhm.
just not play it anymore.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that or something that would be nice is maybe like you know how like sports always have some, at least in America, we tend to have like all-star games and things like that. Maybe
Mhm.
some nice weekends where like you can have um, like the community play with us, or like we have
Mhm.
all-star TDM games or
Yeah.
sacrifice things like that. Just some fun things to like mix things up and maybe like I don't know,
Mhm.
just interact with the community a bit more. I think would be nice.
Would you mind maybe switching the format to 2v2 or team mode or sacrifice maybe at some point? I think we lack some players to do sacrifice like league or a tournament or anything like that. It will have to take some time to rethink it, but switching to team mode maybe for a year.
I personally wouldn't mind it. You know me, I love 2v2.
Yeah.
So but or even like 2v2 and 1v1 together.
Yeah.
Like look at how StarCraft used to do their star ladder as well,
Hmm.
like where you have I think even if you did that and it wasn't 2v2, but you had like teams of duelers, like in the old
Yeah.
ESWC
Yeah.
2004
That
Cup.
would be cool.
I think a type of format like that would be really nice to where it's like even though it's an individual effort in the game, it's all a team collective on deciding who plays who and the results all matter together. I think that would be pretty cool as well. Now, if there is another season, could
Hmm.
they manage to come up with that and do that in that short amount of time? I don't know. But I
Yeah.
think like some type of format like that would be really cool.
I think so too, and this is what I wish to the whole Quake community. Also, thank you for joining me, and I wish you good luck on the tournament. I hope you have a great game and nothing bothers you guys there, and you got like perfect experience of Quake this weekend.
Yeah, thanks for the interview, buddy. You're obviously
No
going to be
problem.
really missed.
I appreciate
And
it.
yeah, hopefully see you sometime soon in the future.
Of course. Thank you.